Hello everyone, I'm Sarah, Rich Textures Crochet, and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to crochet the Galaxy blanket. You can see the Galaxy blanket here in front of you. It is created by working a couple of fun and very textured crochet stitches, and it's worked in a super bulky weight yarn, which is going to make it work up fairly quickly. It's going to make it super cozy as well. Today for the tutorial, I'm going to be working with the Caron Chunky Cakes by Yarnspirations. Again, they are a super bulky weight yarn. There's approximately 297 yards per cake, and you're going to need 6 of them to complete the blankets to the dimensions that I'm working here today. My blanket today measures about 45 inches by 55 inches long. So you'll need 6 of those along with an L11 or 8mm crochet hook and a copy of the free written instructions, which are on my website at richtexturescrochet.com. So thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, I invite you to take a look around. Don't forget to subscribe and say hello down in the comments. This channel is updated every single week with free crochet patterns and stitch tutorials. Now our blanket today is worked in rows, and we're going to work it along that short end today. I'm also going to only be working a swatch of the blanket for you here on video. It'll make it go a little bit quicker, and it is a repetitive pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by making a slip knot. And then to get your 45 inches, you're going to begin by chaining 105 stitches. If you'd like to change the length of your blanket, which I am going to do here today, you're going to need to chain an odd number of stitches. So I'm just going to go ahead and chain 21. You will have gone ahead and chained 105 stitches. For row 1, you're going to begin in the second chain from your hook, and you're going to work a half double crochet into that second chain, and then half double crochet into each stitch all the way across. At the end of this row, you're going to have a total of 104 stitches. Your chain 1 does not count as a stitch. At the end of row 1, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Now for rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, for the next 5 rows, we're going to work half double crochet stitches, but we're going to be working them into the third loop. To find the third loop, and it looks slightly different depending on what side is facing you. So right now I have my wrong side facing me. So to find your third loop when the wrong side is facing you, you're going to look just under the front loop. So at the top of your stitch, you have the loop that is furthest away, that's your back loop. This loop that is closest to you, that's your front loop. Just under that front loop, you have another loop that runs along under it. This is your third loop. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook under that third loop only, and work a half double crochet. You're going to repeat this all the way across. And what you're going to see happening on the right side of your work, the top of the stitch is going to be pushed forward and give you this ridge of texture. So work 1 half double crochet in the third loop of each stitch all the way across. You're going to do this for rows 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But when I come across here to the end of my swatch, I'm just going to show you what the third loop looks like when you turn your work. It looks a little differently. So half double crochet all the way across in the third loop. When you come all the way across, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work, and once again work in the third loop of each stitch all the way across. Now this time we have the right side of our blanket facing us. So if we look at the back of our stitch, you have your back loop, and then just under your back loop you have another loop that kind of comes down here on the diagonal. This is your back loop, your third loop, when the right side is facing you. So just insert your hook under that stitch. I do find it easier if I just pivot my work so it's kind of in a vertical direction, and then I have my back loop here. Just under that back loop is my third loop. So you're going to work in the third loop all the way across. Repeat this twice more until you come to the end of row 6. Once you have worked your repeats through to the end of row 6, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Now for row 7, we're going to begin by working a cluster stitch into the next stitch. So not the stitch at the base of your turning chain, but into the next chain, into the next stitch. You're going to insert your hook, yarn over and drop a loop, yarn over, insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. That's your cluster stitch. You're then going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work a cluster into your next. You're going to repeat this all the way across. Chain 1, skip 1, cluster into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, cluster into your next stitch. Repeat that all the way across, ending with a cluster stitch into your final stitch. At the end of your row, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Now for rows 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the next 5 rows, you're going to continue working cluster stitches, this time working them into each chain 1 space. So skip the first cluster stitch into the next chain 1 space between the next 2 clusters, work a cluster stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, cluster in the next chain 1 space. Repeat this all the way across. Chain 1, skip 1, cluster in the next chain 1 space. When you come all the way across, you're going to work your final cluster stitch into the chain 2 space at the end of your row. and then chain 2 and turn your work. Go ahead and repeat that row 4 more times. You're going to have a total of 6 rows of this cluster stitch. At the end of row 12, you'll have worked 6 rows of your cluster stitches. You're going to chain 1 and turn your work. Now for row 13, we're going to work a half double crochet into the top of our first stitch, half double crochet in the next chain 1 space, and then continue working half double crochet stitches in the tops of each stitch and each chain 1 stitch all the way across, or chain 1 space all the way across. When you come all the way across, you're going to finish the row off by working 1 half double crochet into your final chain 2 space, chain 1, and turn your work. Now for the repeats in the pattern, that is it. For rows 14 through to 97, you're going to repeat rows 2 to 13 7 more times, and then to row 102, repeat rows 2 to 6 once more. Feel free to head over to richtexturescrochet.com or the direct link in the description of this video. That's where you'll find all of those repeats written out. Once you have completed your blanket, I'm just going to fasten off here. You're going to work tassels all the way across the ends of your blanket. To work the tassels, I'll just show you quickly what I like to do. I like to take lengths of yarn about 10 inches long, and I'm going to group 3 of them together. So here I'll cut 3 lengths of yarn. They can be longer or shorter, it's up to you. You're then going to gather those lengths of yarn using your crochet hook. Insert your crochet hook. I'm starting in the first stitch. Grab a hold of those 3 pieces of yarn and pull them through. You're then going to fold them over so that their ends meet. And then for my tassels, I like to simply tie a knot. You're going to work a tassel in every second stitch all the way along the ends of your blanket. Once you have worked all of your tassels, you'll just give them a little trim so that they're all the same length. And that's how I like to work the fringe on my blankets. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you happen to make the Galaxy blanket and share it on social media, do be sure to tag Rich Textures Crochet. I always love to come by and admire your work. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.